In my 9 years here at the Capitol, there have been many, many frustrating days where myself and my caucus thought that good, thoughtful ideas came to die, where we would offer up amendment after amendment or offer up pieces of legislation year after year and see the majority party defeat it. And one of the more personal issues was the issue of texting while driving. And when it started, 3 or 4 years ago with my predecessor, Representative Danny Morgan, former Democratic leader from Prague, as he started to carry the ball forward on trying to make texting while driving illegal in Oklahoma as a primary offense, he worked hand in hand with now deceased Representative Sue Tibbs from Tulsa, but she was the only Republican who would reach across the aisle and work with Leader Morgan to try to make texting while driving illegal in the state. And as Representative Morgan offered up bill after bill, year after year, he was thwarted and defeated. And then after Leader Morgan left, myself, Representative Jeannie McDaniel from Tulsa, Representative Curtis McDaniel from McCurtain County, we offered up amendment and legislation after legislation, and each and every time the Republican majority in the House of Representatives defeated it. And even as early as the 24th of February, when Representative Terry O'Donnell's bill to ban texting while driving as a secondary offense came through the House, I offered up an amendment to make it a primary offense, saying we really needed to give teeth to the law to protect people like Trooper Dees. But unfortunately at that time, when I offered up the amendment on the 24th of February, only 30 people voted for it. My caucus was joined by Representative Brumbaugh, Christian, Cooksey, Kern, and Kirby as the only 5 Republicans who stood with the entire House Democratic caucus to make texting while driving a primary offense. Every other Republican in the House was either excused or voted against making texting while driving a primary offense. That day we stepped away and thought, even with the death of Trooper Dees, we apparently still couldn't get it done. But thanks to the Trooper Dees family and enough lobbying from our constituents and our caucus, the Republican majority finally saw the light and flipped from their original no votes of the 24th of February to finally supporting some 87 members of the House supporting a ban on texting while driving, and now it heads to the governor's desk, which we encourage her to sign it. And so of all the years and the frustrating moments over the last 9 years, I can say that this week I get to go home to my family on a high note, knowing finally partisanship was set aside and the Republican majority joined hands with us in a bipartisan effort to really make good law a reality. And so we're pleased with that. The second thing I want to mention is there are rumors now that we're rapidly approaching a budget agreement. It may come as early as next week. We hope that the governor and the Senate and the House leadership can come to an agreement that is one that will protect our most vulnerable citizens, that will protect the health care of our senior citizens, that will protect public education funding, and will keep us on the same path to ensure that our infrastructure, our roads and bridges in Oklahoma continue to be repaired and funded to be repaired as they should be. However, the word that we're getting is that many of our state agencies should be anticipating some sort of a cut, including public education. They may receive a 1% cut or a 2% cut, or potentially held flat. In a meeting today with Superintendent Rob New and Superintendent Keith Ballard, they both admitted that even if they're held flat this year, in other words, if they receive the exact same amount of dollars this year that they received this past year, that will serve as a net cut to our public schools. And when you look at the hundreds of millions of dollars that have been cut from our public schools in the last 5 or 6 years, it would be a travesty to leave money in the rainy day fund. At the same time, you're asking our public schools to take another per pupil cut. And so what we're calling for, as those final budget numbers are agreed upon, what we're calling for is a couple of things. We're calling for holding education not just harmless, but improving their funding for the following year, as well as maintaining our roads and bridges funding. The 8-year plan for the Department of Transportation and the 5-year plan for the county improvement of roads and bridges funds. Those funds should be left intact. They should not be raided, because at the end of the day, you should not have to rob Peter to pay Paul. Everybody in this state understands that a core function of government is educating our children and ensuring that we have good quality roads and bridges for all of us to drive on. And if we're robbing money from one to pay for the other one, we're doing a disservice to the entire state. And so on behalf of the House Democratic Caucus, we urge Chairman Sears, Chairman Jolly, Secretary Dorflinger, and Governor Fallon to keep moving forward when it comes to our infrastructure funding and keep moving forward when it comes to funding education.